Clark. I practice in Houston, Texas. I too was here about 2 years ago. Really enjoyed it, but I look forward to working.
I don't see any other new faculty members here. You'll see them in your rooms when we get started, okay? So, without any further delay, I want to introduce our first speaker. You all heard a lot about, all talking about Mr. Moncriffe yesterday, and that shows the high esteem that we hold him in. He is a legendary lawyer in the Houston area, and you are really going to enjoy his talk. He's board certified in criminal law. He graduated from the Texas Southern University magna cum laude and from Thurgood Marshall Law School in 1982. He's been in private practice since 1983, handles criminal cases. He has helped us here for so many years. He's always been very willing to give of his time, and we greatly appreciate it. He's also listed as a Texas super lawyer and has been for many years. He's a former board member of the Texas Criminal Defense Lawyers Association. I know you're really going to enjoy hearing Tyrone Moncriffe.
Gentleman way in the back, can you hear me pretty well, sir? If my voice drops, be sure to raise your hand. I wasn't sure how it was going to be set up today because you know they're filming this, folks. They actually put it on film. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to move and stay in one spot or if I could move around. I wasn't sure how to set it up. But I'm a trial lawyer. That means I can adjust to anything instantly. Reminds me of a story, though, of this burglar who was the best in the world. He would always break into places, but he'd be sure nobody was there. But he broke into this house once, and a man and a woman were in the back room. And he said, "Oh my God, you folks, I didn't hate to see you. I don't want to hurt anybody. But you understand, I'm a professional. And now that you've seen my face, I must kill you." Reached in his pocket, "But before I kill you, give me your names." Turned his pistol toward the woman, and she said, in a very soft voice, "My name is Elizabeth." He said, "Elizabeth, oh my God, Elizabeth, that's my grandmother's name." I could never hurt anybody with the name Elizabeth. In honor of my grandmother, I'm going to allow you to live. Turn the pistol toward the gentleman. "And what is your name?" "My name is John, but everybody calls me Elizabeth." Adjusting on the fly. "Look, folks, I have your names." They gave me a list of everybody's name here. I have it, and I'm going to call one of you to come up here with me. Now, some of you know me. I know some of you too. Well, and last night I said, this is the person I want to come up here and stand with me for about 10, 15 seconds. You don't have to say a word. But as I was looking through the list, here's the name that I'm going to call. I'm going to call, but I want to be sure to get this name pronounced correctly too. I'm going to call I'm not going to call it anybody. I just want you to get that fear in your gut just for a few seconds. That fear is what makes trial lawyers special. That fear is what makes trial lawyers special. Use it. Don't run away from it. I have two objectives with this presentation. One is to show you the power of a simple story. The power of a simple story. Objective number two, I'll make the room disappear. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that. I'm going to make the room, this room, disappear. What's your name, sir? Way in the back, you know who I'm talking. Yes, sir. Could you give me a brief that up for me? Say that again. Absheen last started to laugh at me. There's always somebody who laughs when I say I'm gonna make the room disappear, but when I do, I'm gonna come back. See, I told you. All right? As long as I've been doing this, I found out there were good lawyers and great lawyers. Good lawyers and great lawyers. I'm talking about trial lawyers. Good lawyers were the ones who could communicate. They were masters of communication. Great lawyers connect. They don't communicate. They connect. They're masters of connecting. So let me tell you something, folks. I didn't really want to be a trial lawyer. I really wanted to be a writer. How many of you doing something you say, you know what, I really want to be a writer though? Why? Because writers could take words and put me in another location. Words and put me in another location. James Baldwin would take me to 1945 to a club in New York, and I would be on the dance floor. John Steinbeck said John Steinbeck was such a great writer that he could write about darkness and make you feel it. Harper Lee took me to a courtroom with a lawyer named Atticus. And I stood there with him as he fought for this young man's life. Hemingway, how many of you read Hemingway? Can I see hands? If you read Hemingway, you know Hemingway is the master of the short sentence. You know what I mean? Let me tell you a sentence by Ernest Hemingway. Baby shoes for sale, never worn. Baby shoes for sale, never worn. The master of the short sentence. But that's what I wanted to be. Didn't have the talent. And I remember something that happened to me when I was in undergrad school. I don't remember a lot about undergrad school, but I remember this, I do remember those parties. But I remember a teacher walking in, English lit, and she said, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to go to your refrigerators. Raise your hand if you see your refrigerator at home, at your home. Raise your hand. And I want you to open the door. I want you to see that light that comes on. That cool breeze hits you right about here. There's a lemon in that refrigerator. It is the biggest lemon you've ever seen. I want you to take one hand. Pick it up, your hand sort of drops because it's so big. Put it on the nearest table and start to roll it backwards and forward. Backwards and forward. Backwards and forward. Reach into the drawer that has those sharp knives in it. You know where it is. Pull out the sharpest one, put it in the middle of that lemon, and slowly saw it backwards and forward. Backwards. And juices are coming out now, and you turn your head because of the smell. Backwards and forward. It splits in two. Take one side. The side that has the seeds on it, squeeze it a little bit, put it in your mouth and bite it. Boy, if you could see some of the frowning faces that I see here. What's your name, ma'am? Lenora, tell me, and I don't want you to be a lawyer, what did it taste like to you? Explain that. No, that's the lawyer's answer. Explain, what does it feel like to you?
Just, I don't know, just a sensation.
She's got to stand up. Lord, stand up for me. Stand up, please. And I want you to turn and look to your fellow lawyers and tell them, because I saw it in you. When did it start affecting you and where?
When you start petting,
What did it do to you?
I just felt a sensation.
Where?
The sides of my mouth.
Thank you, ma'am. When I was 19 years old, folks, and when that happened to me, I said the same thing. I said, man, that's powerful. But I said something else. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Anybody tell me why it's dangerous? What that teacher just did, what I just did. Why is it dangerous? And don't sound like a lawyer. Why is it dangerous? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Great power, great responsibility, to be used for both good or evil.
Now that's a lawyer sound. That's good. But that's a lawyer. What is it? Why is it dangerous? Anybody? Yes, sir.
You're in control.
Good. Power, control. What else? Why is it dangerous? Anybody? Yes, sir. Good. That's close. But yes, ma'am. Good. All this is good, but why is it dangerous? A person can walk into a room using words and make you have a physical reaction. Y'all with me with that? I can just talk to you and make you uncomfortable, make your body hurt, make your body have sensations. Just talking to you. That's why it's dangerous. And it means if I can make you taste a lemon, I can make you smell bleach. I can make you feel that your hand on that hot fire that I'm pulling it closer to the fire. I can make you feel that pistol to the back of your head. Hear the cock of the trigger. And as it presses towards your head, I can make you feel it. You are not scientists. You are artists. Repeat that. Trial lawyers are not scientists. You are artists. And artists make you feel. Artists make you feel. I'm going to use, for demonstrative purposes, sir, what's your name? Jerry, come up for a second. How many of you tried real cases? I mean cases where, when I say real cases, I mean you're losing when you walk in the door. I mean, everybody's going to hate you when you walk in, and they just hate you. And you know it. Little, you know what I'm talking about. They just hate you as soon as you walk in. They just hate you. How many of you tried those? Raise your hand. Then you know the room changes, right? Let me explain to you what I mean. We're in trial. Give me your last name.
Villegas.
Villegas? Why am I getting people with the tough names? This is my client, Mr. Villegas. He's a great guy. He's charismatic. Everybody loves him. He's just good. Women adore him. Guys respect him. He pays his lawyers on time. We love him. We love this man. But we're in trial now, and the jury, you're the jury. You don't know what he's charged with. And Judge Belinda Hill, my judge, reads the indictment, and he's charged with aggravated sexual assault of a 6-year-old. I'm going to repeat that because my judges repeat my indictment. I don't know why. Just read it twice. I've been trying to get them not to do it. Aggravated sexual assault of a 6-year-old. Forget about being a lawyer. Forget about it. There's a feeling in the room. And if you're acting like a lawyer, you don't get it. There's a feeling in the room. The room is shifted. And there is a word inside of your gut. It's there. Just yell it out. What's the word inside of your gut? Yell it out. Guilty. Disgusting. What's another one? Whoa. Well, when the jury says whoa, we're in trouble. What's the other words in your gut? Yes, yell them out. Gross. What's another one? Pervert. What's another one? Anger. What's another one? Monster. We usually want to stop and get to monster. Criminal defense lawyers can only take so much of that. We're going to stop at monster. How many of you think if I got up and said, folks, they taught me in law school, they got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, the presumption of innocence, it don't mean nothing. That's what they taught me in law school. Doesn't mean nothing. Because these words are coming from your core, your gut. Remember I tell you about those great lawyers connect? I saw a lawyer, phenomenal, one of the best I've ever seen in the world. Same situation. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't get to take my daughter to the dentist quite often as my wife, but one time I had to. When I went into the school to pick her up, she's 5th grade, they wouldn't let me take her. Oh, I gave them all types of identification. Went to a car and came with some more identification. They wouldn't let me take her. And it wasn't until my daughter came down the hallway and said, yeah, that's my dad, that they let me take her. I didn't get mad at those people. They're protecting my daughter. And I didn't get mad at you when you heard what we were charged with. We're a society to protect our women and our children. And there's nothing worse than this type of case, except one thing. An innocent person being charged in this type of case. And he did something lawyers don't like to do. He shut up. He was quiet. It was almost as though he was sensing the shift in the room. And the room did shift. And there's a word inside of your gut now. Don't be a lawyer. What's the word inside of your gut? Anybody? What is it? Just yell it out. What's the word inside of your gut? Anybody? Doubt. What's another one? Movement. What's another one? Wait and listen. What's another one? Wronged. Give me one more. What's another one? Curious. Now, let me ask a question. A minute ago, we were at pervert, monster, guilty. In a minute, people said doubt. In a minute, people said, let me wait and listen. In a minute, there's no legal theories talked about. Why? What happened and why? Can anybody tell me? Y'all thinking too much. Yes, ma'am.
Make it relatable to the jury, not as a stranger or possible pervert.
Good.
You planted a seed of doubt.
Seed of doubt. What's another one? Yes, sir. became a person. All of those are true. But what did I do to get there? How did I get there? Tell the story. It's a simple story. The story does all of that. Makes a person human, makes a person relatable, makes you open your mind. And remember this, let's be lawyers for a second. The story had nothing to do with him. I told the story about picking up my daughter from school. That had nothing to do with him. Lawyers, why is it in the room shifted about him? Anybody tell me that? Why? It had nothing to do with him. Why do you feel different about him? Anybody tell me why? There you go. That's the best way to say it. Who said that? That's the best way to say it. What's your name? Chris. Chris said it the best way. I am him. See, there's a symbiotic relationship between him and I, and whatever happens to me happens to him. See, if I'm the type of person who would not want my daughter protected, then I would not represent somebody who hurt women or children. That's why the story changed for him. Can y'all give him a hand for me, folks? Thank you. Oh, I see these lawyers do these opening statements, and I see these prosecutors, and man, I am so glad, Mr. Anderson, them prosecutors don't know storytelling like we do. Man, if I was a prosecutor, I wouldn't give the opening statement. How many of you heard prosecutors do this? And the evidence will show. And the evidence will show. How many of you heard that? Man, I wouldn't tell this. If they told me, Mr. Moncriffe, it's Judge Belinda Hill again. Mr. Moncriffe, you can do your opening. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were at Travis in Maine in 2017, September the 16th, right across the street, you see the Mulberry Apartments. Room 116 door is slightly open. Mary Smith is walking toward that door. She's supposed to meet her sister. Her sister's 2 hours late for their meeting. But her sister is never late. She pushes that door open. And when she pushes the door open, the room is spotless, as usual. And then she walks into the kitchen area. And on the floor is her sister. On the wall is streaks of blood. And on the floor, her sister lies with her head sliced open like a watermelon. And she screams. And she screams. And she screams. And she didn't stop screaming till she heard the noise in the hallway, and then she ran to the hallway, and she remembered her niece and nephew. She kicked the door open, hallway door, and her niece was bending down like that with her hand over her brother's mouth. And she said, "That man is going to get us. That man is going to get us." They took that little girl to a room. And men stood up in the middle of the room, and they'd walk into the middle of the floor, they'd say a few words, and then they'd walk back. Walk to the middle of the room, say a few words, and then they'd walk back. The man in the third spot walked to the middle of the room and said a few words and walked back. That little girl said, "And man is going to get us. Man is going to get us." And ladies and gentlemen, that man is in this room. And he's sitting right over here. Take my notes and I'd sit down. I take my notes and I sit down because I know the room has shifted again. And there is a feeling in the room. What does this room feel like? Anybody? Yell it out. What does it feel like in the room now? Get revenge was another one. Protection. Protection against who though? The man. And where's the man? He's in the room. He's sitting right over here. Who are we protecting this man from? That little girl. You know what? Here's what's going to be kind of hard. Let me flip it this way. What if that little girl comes into court and says, y'all got the wrong guy? That's not him. That's not him. Some of you don't like to hear that. Some of you don't want to hear that. Some of you are saying, no, the little girl is wrong. You know why? Because it doesn't matter what the little girl saw. You saw it. You with me? No matter what the little girl saw, you saw it. You're not a juror anymore. You are a witness. Y'all with me with that, folks? See, they can't be objective anymore. They are witness because they went to the scene. They were there. They heard the screams. And it became real to them in spite of what that little girl saw. We don't need a trial, though. We can just go ahead and stop and go directly to the deliberation room. Why go to trial with this? Why put on evidence? Let's go directly from here to the deliberation room. That's how you're feeling. And all the evidence that comes in, even if it's contradictory to what you feel, you don't see it. You saw it. You went there. Now, I did some things, folks. I did some things as I told that opening. I used some techniques. Anybody know what they were? Yes, sir. Repetition. When did I see repetition? Good. What's another one? Good. What's another one? Repetition. Good. What is other than repetition?
When she was screaming.
All right. Screams. I didn't say scream once. Look, folks, look. As a technician, if you are a trial lawyer, you don't want to say, well, she's screaming, you keep talking. They don't hear it. She screamed. She screamed. She screamed. Why is that effective? Let me tell you why. Let me show you why. I'm gonna do something kind of odd. I'm gonna count to 5. And let me get away from this thing over. When I get to 5, you're gonna hear your own mother's voice. Watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't have to tell me you heard the voice. I know you did by looking at your faces. And it doesn't matter whether she's alive or dead. You know why? That voice is inside of you. I didn't make it. It's there. All I did was give you time to assess the voice. And so when I say she screamed, she screamed. she screamed, "I'm giving you time to access your scream," the one you've heard. Each of you have heard a different scream. Each of you has heard a scream that puts you there. You got to stop and let that jury hear that scream. Well, Tyrone, you're always talking about opening statements for prosecutors. What about a defense lawyer's opening statement? All right, I'm gonna get you with that now. Represented a young man who was charged with 11 felonies in 48 hours. True story. 11. One behind another, behind another, behind another. He did everything but capital murder, but everything else he did. Wasn't no question that it was him. Prosecutor, who's a defense lawyer now, we'll talk about that now. Wasn't no question, and the state wanted, 167 years, I think, something like that. What do? We got to go to trial. Can't say it wasn't him. What's your opening statement, Mr. Moncriffe? Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to meet Mary Smith. Mary Smith is 45 years old now. But when she was 20, she was pregnant, her first child. And boy, she was happy. It was the happiest day in her life. She had nieces and nephews. She loved them, but like most young ladies, she wanted her own. And when that child came into this world, it was the best thing that ever happened to her. Born healthy, doing well, until about the 4th grade. Because in the 4th grade, he began to slow down. Mothers know more than anybody. They wind up having to take him out of that class because he couldn't keep up. They put him in another class. Did well for a while, then had to take him out of that and put him in another class. He would always start to slow down. Eventually, they put him into another school. Eventually, they had to take him out of state to another school. And when he went to that school out of state, he was sexually assaulted. Took him out of that and put him in another school. And the final school they put him in, he started to do well. And he would do well as long as he was on that medication. And ladies and gentlemen, my first witness will be the mother. Now, why is it that he committed all those offenses? Anybody tell me, just real quick. Why? Off his medication. But if I had just got up to, ladies and gentlemen, when I was on the medication, you don't get it. You're not emotionally connected to the story. And when we went to trial and the prosecutor started trying to bring up all those cases that he had committed, I looked at the jury and boy, they turned on that prosecutor. Those mothers in particular, boy, they hated that prosecutor. See, they had connected to that mom. And they were not going to let the state of Texas hurt that mom again. Opening statement. Sometime you got to know what the story is. Look, folks, how many of you have ever been, this is a scary question. How many of you were born after 1984? After this is scary here. Let me see the hands again. Are you kidding me? Man. I'm going to take you to 1984 when you weren't even born. August 15th, we're going to walk through the front doors, go to those elevators all the way down the hallway. We're going to go up those elevators. And we get up the elevator, we ride up to the 9th floor, we turn to my right, your left. We're going to walk that direction. We walk by and there's a lady passing by us and she has a yellow piece of paper like this and she's flipping, going through it. We pass her. We get to that room, 916. It is not a door there, it's a sheet. We push that sheet open. And there is an old man lying on the bed with his legs sort of crossed like that. He's having difficulty breathing. He's skinny and frail. Every so often he coughs. He looks sick. Guess what? Guess what? If I ask you right now, who took you to school on the very first day, you're going to say your mom. Not me. My dad took me. And when I tried to play baseball, I was no good. But I hit that ball once, and I'm running down that first base. Everybody telling me to stop. I said, no, I'm going that second. I'm gonna make a double out of this. I swung, and I'm running towards second base, and I slid way before I should have scratched my knee up some kind of way, hit something, blood started coming out of it. My dad, big guy like me, ran and picked me up like that. First one out there. Didn't know he was at the game. Didn't say a word to me. And he walked me off. When I was young, I had asthma, and for some reason on Saturday nights, folks, it would get worse. My dad, walk in, fix vapor rub and put it on my chest, and I'd breathe better. Boy, I wish I had some Vicks vapor rub. Maybe if I put it on his chest, he would breathe better. Yeah, that's my dad. Grown man. But I never had the guts to tell him, Dad, I love you. It's a macho thing, man thing. You know, guys, we don't tell another guy you love him, even if it's your dad, is not something we do. But I'm gonna do it tonight. And as I walked up to him, remember that lady we saw earlier walking by? She said, Mr. Moncriffe, you need to come back. Your father needs his rest. And I promised I'd be there the next morning. And as I'm taking a shower about 4:30 in the morning, the telephone began to ring. And it rung. And it rung. And it rung. You ever see the group of lawyers this quiet in the room? It's not quiet, it's introspection. You went to your dad. You went to your mom. Went to your brother, your sister, somebody who was strong all your life, your hero. But even in their weakest points, they're still your hero. And the room disappears. See what I mean? Almost as though the room disappears. Power of a simple story. I can take you to 1984, even though you weren't born, and make it your story now. Power of a story. Let's pull out for a minute. I'm getting to final argument. I know I'm running out of time. I don't know what my time is like, but usually people start looking at me kind of hard. I know it's kind of time for me to start shutting things down. Final argument. I always said there is nobody who can do final arguments like criminal defense lawyers. That's what I always say. Mr. Anderson, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody can do a final argument like a criminal defense lawyer. I thought, until I heard the story about a 27-year-old civil lawyer tried a case representing a man whose elbows were cut here, both cut off in a horrible accident. And they went to trial, and the judge let them take a break to lunch before they start arguments. And when they got back, the young man said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we went to lunch like you did, Mark and I. I saw you all having fun using your utensils and eating. Mark and I eat too. But Mark doesn't eat like you. Mark eats like a dog. Mark eats like a dog." And they said he did something you don't see lawyers do. He shut up. Mark eats like a dog. And he sat down. Didn't even ask him for money. And everybody was stunned like you are because they thought lawyers just talk. And the jury stayed out a long time. And they wondered why the jury stayed out so long. And the jury was staying out so long because they were trying to determine how many millions do we give to a 23-year-old man who will eat like a dog for the rest of his life. How many millions do you give to a 23-year-old man who will eat like a dog for the rest of his life? They said that young man cleaned up a whole lot of money. And I started saying, why did I become a civil lawyer at that point? What happened with me? The symbol. The jury didn't have just the charge. You know those long charges, we always thinking about those long, the jury charge and all that stuff. Literally, you know what I'm talking about, the charge to the jury. And he gave the jury a symbol. They didn't think about that charge. They weren't worried about that charge. They wanted to know, how much do we give this young man? How much, what's my time like, timekeeper? Okay. She gives me that sign, meaning, about to shut up, Tyrone, let me sit down. I'm gonna tell you one more story. Quick one about Doug Tinker. If you saw that script up there, you probably saw Doug Tinker's name somewhere. How many of you know Doug Tinker, ever heard of Doug Tinker in this group? Oh, I don't mean you old guys, I mean young guys. Old guys, I know you have. But look, Doug Tinker was a master, and I do mean this, a master storyteller. I used to walk up to him and say, Doug, and I was so fortunate. Let me tell you something. I have been fortunate in my life to have lawyers like that young man, Mr. Anderson, who I have watched still using their arguments. Doug Tinker was one of those. Doug Tinker represents the impossible cases, though. Y'all remember the Selena, the great Selena? He represented the lady who killed Selena. the horrible cases. That's who he represented. Doug was representing a young man who walked into a bar. His client walked in, gets into an argument, the guy pulls his gun out and shoots the guy in the chest. Guy turns, runs out of the bar. Doug's client shoot him in the back as he's running out. He gets to the door, he falls on his face. Doug's client shoots, empties the weapon in his back, reloads, and continued to empty the weapon in his back. Doug's defense, self-defense. And I start laughing. Now, how do you get self-defense out of those facts? But Doug was a master storyteller. Doug said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was a little boy, me and my brother used to stay in the backyard and we throw rocks at each other. And one day we were throwing rocks and this big snake coiled up around the gate. We couldn't get out. My mother, who's afraid of snakes, heard the neighbor tells my mother, she ran and got a shovel. And she ran to where we were, and she ran up to that snake, and she started to hit the snake. And the huge snake started to pull back. She hit the snake. Snake kept pulling back. She continued to hit the snake. And even when the snake was dead, she continued to hit the snake. We had to grab her and say, Mom, he's dead. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jones, the decedent, was a snake. Not guilty. And I said, wow. See, Doug wasn't, he was a connector. Let me say this as I sit down, guys. And I do mean this sincerely. The best thing that happened to me when I started practicing law was to come to this program. I'm serious. I saw master lawyers. I saw lawyers who, to this day, and I mean, Lydia and I came in 1985. Sure how old we were, right? 1985, 86 when I took the course. A lot of them sitting right here. Tim Evans and Mr. Anderson did arguments that I still use right now. Let me just say something. Take some risk. You don't become a master trial lawyer being safe. You don't become a master trial lawyer being comfortable. Take some risk. Do things that you think you couldn't do, and if you think you can't get criticized, you're in the wrong place. Love criticism, because I found the people who criticized me were the ones who cared about me the most. If you're a master trial lawyer, you don't need to be in here. You're wasting your time. You're coming to learn something. And if you walk away, I mean this, if you walk away with one idea, one idea can change the destiny of another human being. There's an argument that Mr. Anderson gave that I use, one idea, saved a young man's life. Learn as much as you can. Put yourself out. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to take risk. And let me just say this in closing. I know you said, boy, trial lawyers always say they're closing, but they never close, right? I'm gonna say this in closing. You guys are my heroes. I mean that. You guys are my heroes. I have a daughter who's 30 years old. You and her kids, whenever she have any, and we're waiting on that. Whenever she has any, you guys will be the ones protecting their future. You lawyers. You lawyers. You are the heroes for me. And all I say is this, and I'm going to tell you my last final story Craig Washington told me this. I was trying a murder case. And he said, Tyrone, in the middle of the trial, we out there taking a break. Tyrone, let me tell you a story. I'm saying, man, nobody needs to be telling me no story right now. I'm getting ready for my argument. Craig said, let me tell you this. I'm going to tell you real quick. The story about Alamo. And about 180 men protecting his dwelling, and the 6,000 men were coming, invading, army. And they were totally outnumbered. And they were preparing for this battle. One man was cleaning his rifle. Someone said David Crockett, nobody really know. And somebody said to them, what are you guys doing? You're outnumbered, you can't win. And he said, we know it, but we're gonna give them hell. We know it, but we're gonna give them hell. When you go to trial, guys, and your trial is coming up and everybody hates you, prosecutor hates you, jury hates you, judge hates you, bailiff hates you, clerk hates you because you're in there fighting. And somebody's going to turn to you and say, you're outnumbered. All the evidence is against you. Say, I went to trial lawyers college. I know it. But I'm going to give them hell. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.